positive and negative intervals of polynomials. Okay, so we have f of x. This is a polynomial. This is equal to 7x minus 2 times 5x minus 8 times x plus 5 times x minus 6. It tells us the zeros. It says x equals negative 5, which is a 0 right here, negative 5. 2 over 7 is the one that's responsible for this one. 8 over 5 comes from right here. And finally, 6 comes from x minus 6. So we have our zeros. What they're asking us to determine is during the interval from negative 5 to 2 over 7. So from this number to 2 over 7, which is just over 0 but less than 1, is our graph positive, or is it negative, or is it both? So before I actually solve this problem, I'm going to talk about a couple of things. So let's say we have our coordinate grid, and let's say we have a 0 at negative 1. So I'm going to plot that with a green. Okay. And let's say we have a 0 at, I'm going to make this positive 5. And let's give ourselves one more 0. We'll go negative 7. I'm making these things up right as I'm talking. Now, we know we have zeros here. What we don't know is how our graph is drawn. Now, there's many ways we can draw the graph. What we do know right now is that, let's see, where's that black? I don't have a black. All right, so we could have, what we do know is that our graph either touches each of these spots or it goes through. So our graph could look, for negative 7 alone, it could go from here through, it could go from here through, or it could go from down here, come up, touch it, and come back down. Or the same thing up here. It could come down, touch it, and go back up. Okay? We don't know which of the 4 we have. We don't know which of the 4 we have right here, or which of the 4 we have right here. So one graph that we might have could look something like, could come from here, go up, come down, touch this one, go back up, and come down and cross through here. This is one possible option of what a graph looks like. Another possible option is we still start down here, we come up, we come down, but instead of touching, we just go straight through, and this one we go straight through. That's another option. Or we could come up, come through, and this one just touch and come down. Okay, there's a lot of options here. There's probably, 4, 8, I think 12 different types of graphs we could have from this one scenario. So what we're going to do is, let's go back to our previous problem. So I'm going to make a coordinate system. All right, we have zeros at negative 5. So I'm plotting this as I'm talking. Negative 5, we have one at 2/7. We have one at 8/5, which is just under 2. And finally, we have one at 6. Okay, this is not necessarily to scale, all right? Like our negative 5 and our 8 over 5 look like they're equally as far away from the origin, and this should be further away by almost 2 times, okay? So just know that it's not exactly drawn to scale. The question asked, what is our graph doing from negative 5 to 2 over 7? So we need to know, 1, is there any more zeros? So like there's no more zeros between here and there. So we know our graph does not cross our x-axis. So our graph is either always in the positive or it's always in the negative. Okay? Now, if there was a line here, a 0 here, then we know that our graph could come up and cross through. Okay? It could also come up and just touch and keep staying up. It could have both options here when there's a 1 in the middle. But right now there's not 1 in the middle. So we know that our graph is either always positive or always negative. How do we determine what it is? Well, what you do is you pick a number between these two numbers. Any number. It could be negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. It could be 0. It could be 1/7 if you want. I always choose, if it's an option, 0. Because 0 is easy to work with. So we're going to plug 0 into the problem and see what we get out of it. So looking into here, if we plug 0 into here, negative 2. 7 times 0 is 0. And then minus 2 is negative 2. So I'm writing this down on my board right now. So the first one's negative 2. The next one's going to be negative 8. This one will be positive 5. And finally, this one will be negative 6. So go back to our board. Okay, I actually made a mistake on this problem. I did my math wrong. So I rewound and started. So go to the board. Negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. And that's my mistake. I actually thought it was still negative. So it's positive 16. 16 times 5 is 80. And then 80 times negative 6 is negative 480. So when I left this negative, my number turned out positive instead, but it should be negative. So I made a mistake. But I recorded it different. I rewound it so you didn't see my mistake. But I did make one. And now we are right. So next question. Even I get got by negative signs once in a while. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to go a little bit faster on this one. So we are looking for negative 5/3 and going to 1/2. Well, we can see negative 5/3, 1/2. There is a 0 in between here, another 1. So we're going to have to check two numbers. We're going to have to check a number that's in here between negative 5/3 and negative 1. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to put these in order on the number line. So we need to find a number that goes right here, which I'm going to pick negative 4/3. And the number here, well, once again, we have 0, so I'm going to pick 0 as an option. All right, so if I plug in negative 4/3 into my equation, so 2 times negative 4/3 is negative 8/3, and then minus 1 gives us a negative number, okay? And now ultimately, the only thing that really matters is the sign, so if it's negative or positive. This one, if we do 3 times negative 4/3, we get negative 12/3, which is negative 4. And then we're going to get plus 5, which gives us a positive number. And then finally, negative 4/3 plus 1 ends up with a negative number. So going back to my board, we can see that we have a negative times a positive, which is a negative. And then negative times a negative is a positive. So from here to here, we are always positive. Now let's check 0. See if this is negative or if it's positive. So 0 goes in, we get a negative number out. 0 goes in, we get a positive number out. 0 goes in, we get a positive number out. So 2 positives, 1 negative means our answer is going to be negative. So we have a positive and a negative, so it's both options. Okay, next question. That was a little harder because we had some fractions in there. Now, they're not always fractions like that to deal with. So here, negative 7/3 and negative 3/5. So this is just greater than negative 2, and this is just less than negative 1. So we can pick negative 2 as a number. That's between these two numbers. So because negative 2 would be 6/3, and then 1 is 5/5. So negative 2 would be a number in between these two numbers. So negative 2, we're going to get a negative number out of here. This turns into a negative number. This turns into a positive number. And this turns into a positive number. So we have negative times negative is positive. The rest are all positive, so we end up with a positive answer. All right, and last question. Here we go. Okay, so we're going from negative 1/5 to 2. There's no other zeros between these two numbers. So, and it also crosses 0, so I'm going to put 0 in here. 0 plus 1 is positive. 0 minus 8 is negative. 0 plus 6 is positive. So positive times negative is negative. Negative times positive is negative. Our answer is always negative. And we are done.